I'm Andrew, and I'm setting out to make better videos for diesel enthusiasts. Follow along as I review products, do how-tos, and share my personal trucks here on Just Diesels. Welcome back, guys, and today we have an interesting video on the channel. So my buddy Austin just picked up a brand new Mercedes diesel Sprinter van, and I thought that this thing was way too cool to not document on the channel. So even though it's not my personal vehicle, Austin's gonna be loaning it to me every now and then so I can give you guys updates on this build on the channel. So today, I thought it'd be kind of cool to start this thing out with a is it worth it video, right? I'm not a van guy. I'm a diesel truck guy. I love these vehicles. I love all kinds of niche enthusiast vehicles, but I actually haven't spent that much time in these diesel Sprinter vans. So this would be the perfect opportunity to kind of get an outsider's take on is it worth it to buy one of these vans. And of course, we'll also be doing the full build out on the channel, but let's go meet this van. So Austin's van is a 2021 Mercedes Sprinter diesel van. It's a 144-inch wheelbase with the low roof. This van comes with a 3.0 liter V6 diesel engine. It's a turbocharged diesel engine and a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now for 2021, this is the last year that you can get the selectable 4-wheel drive. Every model year after this is going to have all-wheel drive. So that actually makes this kind of a cool, desirable van, and that's why Austin custom ordered it. After waiting about a year for this van, he finally got it, and it was definitely worth the wait. This thing is pretty cool. These vans are actually relatively stripped out for what they are. Now they make one below what Austin got, but this one is basically going to have rear seats, basic amenities. It's going to have Apple CarPlay on the head unit, 360 cameras all the way around. He didn't get the upgraded headlights or anything like that, but this is like a very well optioned, but still totally reasonable price point for one of these vans. And if you're curious, here is a picture of the window sticker on this van so you can see what this van actually came optioned with if you're curious. Should be helpful if you're trying to plan out your van after watching this video. So to start out with, let's take a drive in this thing and I'll show you kind of what it's like going down the highway.
So if you already own one of these vans and you're just shopping around, pardon this part of the video, but what I wanted to kind of do is give people like me, who haven't really driven these vans a lot, some feedback on how they drive. So at this point, I've got about 1,000 miles in this van. I'm driving it back from Utah into LA, cruising around LA. I actually really like it. I thought it would drive a lot worse than it does, honestly. My honest feedback, because it feels a little bit kind of like a F-150 but with stiffer suspension. Aside from that, visibility forward is fantastic. Huge front window that you're sitting right up on, big side windows, big mirrors. Forward visibility is incredible. Rear visibility, obviously not the best. Thankfully, they do a really good job of making up for that with the cameras.
So driving this thing around, you were able to see almost everything around you thanks to those cameras. Makes it much easier to maneuver in and out of parking lots, much easier to back up. Without them, this van would be really hard to manage, but with those extra cameras on there, it's much easier to manage. It also has a great view of hooking up a trailer, a couple different views in the back, depending on what you're trying to see. So it's actually a really well-designed basic camera system to kind of see around the van. Now, in terms of the rest of the drivability of this van, it's actually very comfortable. I found the seating position to be quite comfortable. In terms of space in the interior, really good, although I do feel like there's not a lot of space for your stuff inside the actual van. And I mean like little things like your wallet, your phone, things like that. It's a little bit hard to find places to store those items. One other little oddity of this van is that if, let's say, you have your phone plugged in, the only live USB port is inside the dashboard on the top, and it's actually hidden in a locked compartment. So they want you to not be using your phone while driving, but it's kind of a pain to have to take your phone, lock it away in this lockbox if you want to use Apple CarPlay. So definitely minus points on that. I'm not sure if there's a wireless dongle that would work with this, but if there is a wireless CarPlay dongle that would work on this Mercedes van, that would be a huge upgrade from my perspective, just to not have to lock your phone away every time you're driving in case you want to take a picture or something else like that. All in all, I feel like the interior quality and comfort is solid. I wouldn't say it's anything to write home about, but this obviously isn't the most well-optioned van. I will say though, for the price in the mid $60,000 range, there's probably nicer vehicles out there in terms of interior amenities, but you're probably not buying one of these things to have massaging seats and leather and everything else. You're buying this to be a comfortable road trip vehicle, a work vehicle, something like that, and it fits that bill perfectly. Now, in terms of power on the highway, this van is actually awesome. I felt like this thing had plenty of passing power. I felt like it had more than enough oomph to get up long, steep grades. We drove from Salt Lake City up to Park City, so it's a long grade up there. I had no problem passing other vehicles. I actually was really impressed with the torquiness of this engine, just the power delivery, everything else about it. It was really surprising me for just a small 3-liter V6. That's where the diesel stuff really comes into play because it's really torquey. You get a lot out of a very small package. And so I think this is actually a very fun vehicle to drive, even though you would never expect a diesel van to be super fast or fun. I think it actually checks both of those boxes. You know, by no means are you going to set any records, but it's very capable of getting around. I would put it on par with kind of like an EcoBoost F-150 or something like that in terms of feel and power delivery on the road. Now, of course, Mercedes kind of has an interesting corner of the market with these vans because there's not really anything else in the market that is diesel, 4-wheel drive, has as much aftermarket support, and has as much interior space and options. So if you are looking to get into kind of a exploring van, like an adventure van, it's really kind of the Mercedes diesel Sprinter 4-wheel drive stuff or nothing. Now, speaking of adventure vehicles, that's exactly what Austin plans to do with this van. So let's talk about how this thing handles in an adventure setting. So I drove this van from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles. It averaged somewhere around 19 miles to the gallon, which to me is fantastic for one, an out-of-the-box brand new diesel because they tend to get worse fuel economy when they're new. And two, I was driving 80 most of the way. So I think that's probably the most noteworthy thing is that literally driving this van at 80, it was still getting 19 miles to the gallon. That is really cool. So if you're driving at slower speeds, like for example, if you're out of Utah where the speed limit isn't 80, it's amazing how much better fuel economy you can get with this thing than pretty much anything else of this size. You know, I'm used to diesel pickup trucks where, you know, getting 20 is pretty noteworthy, but once you lift them, et cetera, it's kind of hard to achieve. With these vans, it seems to be relatively easy to get that kind of mileage. So that's a huge plus. The other plus, of course, is the actual range of the tank on this van. So as set up, totally stock, getting about 19 miles to the gallon. I was able to go over 500 miles per tank on this van, traveling 80 miles an hour. So that's fantastic if you're trying to make up time, do a long road trip. This is exactly where this van is comfortable. Now, let's say your adventure takes you off the pavement. I think this van falters a little bit. It is all-wheel drive, but the suspension is extremely stiff. It does lack articulation. We did do a little bit of adventuring around Torkerville Falls, and we quickly abandoned the van on the side of the road and took the power wagon that was with us because this thing just was not comfortable. And of course, that's in stock form. So modified, you can actually make these things pretty dang capable off-road. Austin will definitely be doing that, but in stock form, don't expect to do anything more than a very basic dirt road. They just don't have the articulation. They don't have the suspension capability. It's very stiff, very harsh, not comfortable at all. So I will say that this is kind of a very unique vehicle in the marketplace, and so that alone makes it kind of a no-brainer choice. But I really fell in love with this van. I wasn't really expecting to like it that much. I'm used to trucks where you have a lot more power, you have a lot more suspension capability. You know, the interior is not quite as nice and large. And I think that's what really made me fall in love with this van is that I had it just for the weekend, but I was able to throw my mountain bikes in the back with tons of extra room. Didn't have to worry about anyone stealing it while I went and got a sandwich. The inside has tons of space to actually walk around in the cab. I'm 6'4" and I still found that I had plenty of headroom to get around, things like that. And I just really fell in love with how versatile this is as a platform. I really do think like if I didn't have towing needs and I didn't have like extreme off-road capability wants, I think the van would actually be the most perfect platform for getting out, for exploring, for seeing new places, because it's just this perfect combination of fuel economy, of comfort, of quietness, of power, of a little bit of off-road capability, just enough to get you to a cool camp spot, to a cool hot spring, something like that. And then of course you can modify them to have even more. Granted, it won't ever have the capability of a pickup truck or something like that, but it's still pretty impressive what these vans can do. And I completely fell in love with the driving experience. I really, really like this van, and I wasn't expecting it. So yes, it is kind of expensive for what you're getting, but I think it's pretty cool. So what are the plans for the van? So Austin already has suspension plan. He's gonna do wheels, tires. He's gonna do a pretty basic interior build out. He's big into dirt bikes, moto riding, so he's gonna kind of build this out as a moto van. So he's gonna have sleeping accommodations, a place to store dirt bikes, mountain bikes, things like that, basic tool storage, some additional lighting in the front, a compressor, all kinds of stuff like that. So I'll be documenting this build on the channel as it progresses, but I appreciate you guys watching. And if you want my final verdict, I gotta say, I think these vans are actually worth getting. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you on the next video. One oddity that I noticed actually was that this van had a couple scratches on it, and so I went through and actually paint corrected just a few of the scratches that were on this van, and I noticed this van has single stage paint. That's kind of weird to me for a $60-something thousand vehicle that you would have single stage paint. And I'm guessing they did that for reliability's sake so that you don't have the clear coat failure or anything else, but I've never been a big fan of single stage paint. There's a reason we've kind of moved away from it towards three-stage clear coat paint. I think it's a much higher, more higher quality, more durable option. So I was definitely taken a little bit aback by the fact that this van is single stage paint given the price tag. So I guess something to consider if you're being nitpicky. There's not really a way around it, but I know for sure like the Ford Transits, those are three-stage paint, so definitely a little bit nicer, but obviously there's not the four-wheel drive option that you get in these vans.